Good morning again. I am Tim Lammers. We are continuing our coverage of the shootings at Sandy Hook Elementary in Newtown, and this time I am joined by Bo Mitchell, the former police commissioner of Wilton for 16 years. Bo is now the president of 911consulting.net. He is an expert in workplace violence. Bo, thank you for taking the time to join us today. I know you joined us by phone yesterday, but it's good to see you in person.
Sorry to do this under these circumstances.
Of course, of course. Now, the first thing I think people are going to want to know is, what is your website about? Is it about trying to prevent a crisis like this? Is that even possible?
You can't stop crazy.
Yeah.
You can prevent denial and complacency. Every workplace, and a school is a workplace before it's a school, has the obligation to plan, train, and exercise for these kinds of emergencies, and we all need to do a better job of that.
Now back in the 50s, it was just hide under the desk because there's a threat of nuclear annihilation. How do you try to plan for something like this? And is it hard to get people to buy into the planning for this, given that it still is almost essentially like a lightning strike for some places, that there's no reason for the people in Newtown to believe it could have happened to them?
Well, we all want to believe that it isn't going to happen to us, but it's all happened before, and it'll all happen again. Those are the chilling and stubborn facts.
Yeah.
Accordingly, we have to plan, train, and exercise. And as an employer, and again, a school is a workplace, and we have to remember there were adults who were also affected by this. And the people who run those schools and run those workplaces have to plan, train, and exercise. And not all of us do that very, very well. And to your point, there are people who don't like to talk about these things,
Yes.
Thinks that it's scary, and don't do a robust enough job in this regard.
Okay, you mentioned plan, train, exercise. Obviously, we can't get into an in-depth discussion on what that involves. Give me some of the basic bullet points. How do you plan? How do you train for something like this? If you're not a trained first responder and you have to deal with the fight, flight, or freeze response, if you're a school teacher, how do you plan for this?
Well, for workplace violence, and this is workplace violence as well as campus violence, this particular incident, it's complicated because these kinds of behaviors usually aren't the result of snapping. The fact that the report that people snap is almost always mythology, because when the police reports are done and read, it turns out that people see the trajectory of behaviors that were developing here, but no one reported it, and thus no one addressed it.
Okay. What you're implying that there are some patterns that we can see after the fact with 20/20 hindsight?
Almost always there are patterns that people didn't report because nice people don't report other people, or we're afraid of retribution against the person or ourselves. All of those things are out there, but it's really much better to have a culture that plans, trains, and exercises a new kind of behavior, which is that when we see this stuff happening, we report it and try to nip it in the bud.
Okay. Well, Bo has been nice enough to stick around, so he's going to join us again in the next hour, and that's what we're going to want to get into, talking about the patterns that you see in the perpetrators of these crimes and the patterns in the crimes themselves, maybe what we can learn from. So stick around for that. Thank you very much. We have to go to a break, but in just a couple minutes when we come back, we're going to talk with Lieutenant Paul Vance from the Connecticut State Police, so stay with us.